I should starting this podcast with a lighter flick, like Lil Wayne. Like you hear that flick and you like, you know it's me. But I don't have a lighter. I got like one of them like grill lighters. That could be my signature coming on with the the grill lighters where you gotta press the button and then pull the trigger to the big ass. That'll be my signature. When you hear that click of the grill lighter, that's when you know it's your boy. Yo, remember last week when there was a 40,000-pound Chinese rocket hurtling from the stratosphere back to terra firma, and we all just collectively were like, let's not talk about this. I think we handled that correctly. I think we all did the right thing. I think it was good that we did that and decided, yeah, let's just not discuss this very much. Because what is there to say? You know what I mean? What is there really to say? What is there to do? I like that we just, like, let's not add more anxiety to our lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing you could do. You know what I mean? And if that shit was like to land on your city, you'd be gone. You know what I mean? So it's like no sense. Like, what are you gonna do? Get your ducks in a row? Like, unless you got, like, let's say that shit hit New York, right? The fallout would be pretty big. You can't really prepare for that. You know what I mean? It's like, unless you got family in like another part of the world where you could like bequeath them your assets. Is that what you could really do? And like, what assets? Like, you can't leave them your house because it's been smashed under a 40,000-pound rocket. Apparently, the Chinese government was like, yo, that shit wasn't that big a deal. We knew that shit was gonna land in the water, and everyone else was like, did you know that though? Because you guys didn't really say. You know what I mean? Everyone else is like, we got shit in a place where we launch rockets where it's like, we're gonna make sure that there's no way this shit doesn't land anywhere but in the big blue oceans that we have out here. But I believe the Chinese government. I believe that they knew what they were doing, mainly because I want to maintain any potential for a Chinese viewership of this show. So to the Chinese government, I say, well done. No casualties. But yeah, man, we don't need no more anxiety, man. It's like, it's Mental Health Awareness Month or something like that. Too much shit happening. Is like, there's wars, there's fucking famine, there is police brutality and climate change. Gas prices are going back up. I know this is not on the level of famine and fucking climate change and shit, but it's not the point. The point is, there's a lot going on. We niggas don't need to stress themselves out anymore. Like, there's nothing you can do. And oh yeah, by the way, you are checked into the 17th episode of the world's most secret podcast, an underseen, underfunded, and dare I say it, underappreciated, ill-advised fool's errand that we call Nobody Asked Shawn. Welcome to the show. And boy, have we got an episode for you today. It will be standard. I want to make this podcast about mental health. Maybe this is going to be a new way to do the podcast where it's like each episode is Nobody Asked Shawn about this topic. This topic is mental health or mental illness. Like, I'm a mentally ill person, and this is not a joke. I've never been diagnosed with anything. I've also never been truly evaluated for anything. I was supposed to get tested to see if I had ADHD in like 6th grade, and I got distracted and never went back. So, but yeah, I mean, I go through shit, man. I go through deep depressive episodes over long periods of time. Last week I was talking about like not being okay, but you're not okay though, but you're not okay though. That is like, I don't know, that's just the nature of life. Like, how much do you really want to talk about your mental health? How much do you really think people want to hear about your mental health? That's one of my things is like, niggas don't really want to hear about this. And also, even if you do hear about this, what are you going to do? Sometimes I step outside myself and see who I am, and I'm just like, damn, this thing is fucking up. But it's like, I don't care. That's the thing about mental illness for me. It's like, I don't care enough to fix it, but I can definitely see the problem. Like, I think about death every day. Like, that sounds like, I guess we all kind of, but every day. Not only as a concept, but my own death. Like, every time I leave the house, I'm like, this might be the time. But I don't think about death really in a morbid way. It's more like just like fascinating. Like, okay, fascinated in terms of like the ripple effect of my death. Like, if I left the house right now and I never came back, like, how would that change the course of everyone else's life? Would it even really matter? I'm very much in like Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry thing where he goes to his own funeral. I never read Mark Twain, if I'm being honest. I read a lot of books. I've never really cared for the canon. You know what I mean? Like, there are obviously incredible authors from the past, like like Mark Twain, like Ernest Hemingway, like fucking James Joyce. And I just never cared. But I like modern books. Anyway, Mark Twain. I'm very much, I don't know where I got off of this. Mark Twain is a bitch. Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer, whoever, going to their own funeral to see, you know what I mean? Like, I'm very much in that space. Like, I always imagined my funeral was going to be very sparsely attended. Like, you know how, like, when, like, somebody big dies, like Kobe, he gets his funeral at the Staples Center. My funeral would be at, like, one of the, like, the meeting rooms in the local library. It would be, you know what I mean? It's a very small, somber, quiet gathering where niggas would just be like, he could have did more. That's my thing mentally. I always feel like I'm underachieving, but it's also like I got ideas that I can't put into play yet. And then the shit that I do put into play, like this podcast, is like, I appreciate everybody listening to this podcast, but this shit is not doing anything for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be my path to success. That's not the point. The point is, what am I talking about? So with my mental health, I'm trying to get better at communicating how I feel. I encourage so many people to go to therapy, and I've never seen a therapist once in my life, which is, I guess it's par for the course. It's like the people who give the best advice are usually the people who could benefit from that advice in some form. Like the nigga you gonna listen to who tell you to stop smoking cigarettes is the nigga with the fucking the microphone at his throat who's like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna do an impression. It's to show respect to those people. But yeah, I'm trying to get better at communicating. I'm trying to get better at feeling okay. Not with being vulnerable. I have no problem with being vulnerable. Most of this podcast is being vulnerable in terms of like, this is a vanity project in the sense that it's like an ego-driven thing, I guess, but it's not like, this is not a glamorous look at the life of Shawn Murray. This is more like telling you how my neighbor, Nigeria, used to beat me up often. At that time when I got a boner in 6th grade and everyone saw, and it was not fun. So it was shit like that. But I'm trying to get better at not feeling vulnerable, but feeling like people give a fuck about what I'm about to say. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've always been an entertaining person, but I very rarely feel interesting beyond like, I have a lot of factual information. I got some jokes and opinions on like pop culture, but I never feel like if I told somebody my emotional state or my mental state that they would be like, let me engage with you further on that. I have a couple friends like that I appreciate, but it's like I generally feel like, why am I telling anyone this? Like I could handle this on my own, and maybe I can't. Maybe that's what I need to come to terms with. Is like, maybe that's what we all need to come to terms with. Like, it's okay to not be able to handle shit on your own. I think that's something I inherited from my father. My dad is very solitary and like, and he's not like a manly man in the sense of like the father from the 50s or whatever, who's like, like suppresses his emotions, but he's very much a guy who's like, I can figure it out. You know what I mean? Even when shit's going wrong, he's like, I got it. You know what I mean? He won't ask for help, and I'm very much a guy who does not ask for help. It's pulling teeth to get me to ask for some shit. It's like, my whole thing is this: I can figure it out. I very rarely figure it out, but when you do figure it out, it feels good. Where it's like, this nigga did that shit all on his own, but I realize that's not a good way to go about shit. It's like, you need people, and people are there to help you. You know what I mean? Like, that's what your family and friends are for. That's what your community is there for, is to help you. But it's just like, I don't want to feel like a fucking burden on other people. This is a very rambling episode. This is like the state of my brain. Like, you could tell how scatterbrained I am by if you saw how much shit that I watch. Like, if you looked at a log of all the things I've watched in the last week, I watched 2 episodes of Snowfall, 1 episode of What We Do in the Shadows, 2 episodes of The Sopranos, 1 episode of Band of Brothers, watched Tenet for the 3rd time, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, 1 episode of 30 Rock, 1 episode of Schitt's Creek, 2 separate halves of 2 different Gotham Chess videos on YouTube, and 3 episodes of *Halt and Catch Fire*, which I'm rewatching, and that's a great show. You should watch *Halt and Catch Fire*. But the thing is, it's like if you look at it, like, did this nigga focus on anything? It's like, why didn't you just keep watching The Sopranos? Or why didn't you just, finish that season of Snowfall? It's like, I can't do it. I can't. My brain is fucked. My brain is fucked up. So maybe I do have ADHD, but I'm not going to self-diagnose. but I am going to not let anyone else diagnose me because I'm not going to do anything about it. I have ADHD, or I don't. Who cares? This is why you plan things out. If you don't plan to fail, you fail to plan correctly. Something like that. What's the phrase? Okay, Nobody's Ask Shawn. Send in your questions. How does it feel being an Aries? Don't ever ask me some bullshit like this. I do not care about astrology. I don't care about any of that shit. It's like, well, Virgos and Aries don't get along. Like, I don't give a fuck. And it's like, maybe that shit is correct. Like, this is my thing with astrology. It's not that it is bullshit. It's that I don't give a fuck. So maybe Aries shouldn't be with Virgos, or maybe Capricorns are allergic to Geminis, whatever. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, I'll just struggle through life dealing with fucking Tauruses or goddamn Aquariuses that are incompatible with me, because I don't care enough to, like, I don't want to know about my sun sign and your moon and how it intersects with the fire signs, or diametrically opposed to the fucking earth. Who cares? I don't care. So how does it be an Aries? I don't think about it ever. Earliest childhood memory. The most sharp memory I have from my childhood is me, my mom, my dad, and my brother. We were taking my dad to the airport, and it was when we used to have this red Jeep, and me and my brother got to wear our pajamas to the airport, and I was in a red fucking onesie footy pajamas shit. We were just so like, yeah, we get to stay in our pajamas. This is dumb shit that kids care about. And we took our dad to the airport. It was very early in the morning. That's all I remember. Would I consider myself a good dancer? I don't like to consider myself anything. I don't like to consider myself funny. I don't like to consider myself smart. I don't like to consider myself handsome or ugly, or it's like, that's something else everyone can determine. I can tell you that I am a dancer. I be dancing, you know what I mean? Like a wedding, I be having a good time. I don't know if I'm a good dancer. I'm a very self-conscious dancer. It's like, if I hitting this move as hard as I can, it's like, do I look stiff? If my arms doing something weird? But when I get into a groove, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't stop this nigga. You know what I mean? You cannot stop me. Dancing is just being like, when they say dance like nobody's watching, it's like, niggas is watching. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta hit that move anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you having a good time, you're a good dancer. If you're having a good time, you're not hurting anyone, you're a good dancer. Because niggas be throwing bows sometimes that it can get a little dangerous. Like that whole scene in Hitch where it's like, he's not a good dancer, and then Hitch teaches him how to dance, but then later she's like, I actually thought the moves that he did before were the cool. It's like, that's the point. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, what's a good dancer? You gonna live your life worrying about if you're a good dancer or not? It's like, who gives a fuck? When you die, if you was a really good dancer, that might be brought up in your obituary. You know what I mean? That might be brought up in your eulogy when niggas just talk about you at the funeral or whatever. But if you was just an okay dancer, you're not gonna lose points. Or even if you was a bad dancer, niggas might just be like, yo, it might be a good laugh. Like, yo, remember how bad of a dancer that nigga was? You know what I'm saying? So it's fine. Just dance, yo. Have you ever been in a shootout or a drive-by? And if so, how has it made you better? This nigga. Have I ever been in a shootout or a drive-by? Yes. It was me and the person who asked this question. I don't know why he asked, because he knows. We were sitting in his car, in the green Jeep that I mentioned a few episodes back, one night in my driveway, and niggas started shooting, and then they ran past the car, and they ran up my driveway, and then niggas was chasing them, and we thought we was gonna get clapped, but we didn't. And then there's been a couple times like the big homie got shot right outside my dad's window in like 2008 or some shit. And I've been close to a lot of shootouts, but I've never been in a drive-by or you know what I'm saying. But how has it made me better? It definitely made me more alert. You know what I mean? I keep my head on a swivel. I don't try to sit in a car for too long anymore. You know what I mean? Just in case some shit pop off. You ain't really focusing on what's happening behind you when you sit in the car. You know what I mean? So niggas could be running up to put two in your head and you don't even know. So, you know what I mean? Stay alert. In the words of Pooh Shiesty, go grab a glizzy, get alert. You know what I'm saying? Final question, and this is a really good question. What is one album you would recommend to the uncultured if you were introducing them to hip-hop? This is a very difficult question. It's a very good question because it's like, how do you introduce somebody to hip-hop today? What era of hip-hop? Do you play them a Biggie album? You could, but is that representative of what hip hop is now. It definitely, you could track the lineage of hip hop back to Biggie and other artists, but it's like, do you play them a Kanye West album from the 2000s? Do you play them a Lil Baby album from right now? You know what I mean? Do you play them Rapper's Delight? You know what I mean? How do you do it? That's a difficult question. Like, my first thought is something super accessible, like, for example, a Kanye West album. The thing about hip hop is it's about taste. You know what I'm saying? That's the hard thing. It's like I would have to assess that person's interests and then try to direct them left or right. It's like, cause like, you know what I mean, like for like the 90s, I'm like, Wu-Tang is not a bad place to start, but it's like, it could be, might be a little esoteric. You know what I'm saying? Like the kung fu samples and terminology and shit. It's also like, that was like 28 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not hip hop. It's not hip hop, but it's not what hip hop is now. Maybe you play them fucking a Lil Baby album, but it's like, maybe that shit is not like, maybe they wouldn't be interested in like the street shit that Lil Baby be talking about. You know what I mean? So do you play him like a Logic album? Please don't do that. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want anyone to experience that. So that's a good question. What is the perfect entry point? I don't think there is one. Because again, so many subgenres to hip hop, especially now. Well, one thing I will say is you cannot introduce a nigga to hip hop through like any of those like West Coast albums from the 90s. Like, have you ever listened to The Chronic or fucking Doggy Style today? Like that shit, The Chronic and Doggy Style is everything that white people said hip hop was. Like if you listen to it with like modern ears, it's like the skits, like them niggas was vile on them albums, bro. And I fuck with them. Like Doggy Style's a great album, Chronic's a great album, but it's like a lot of that shit is just like, bruh, like why are you this vile? Like I don't even use the word vile, but like, that shit is like tough to listen to. It's still a lot of good shit on there, but it's like, whew. Like it's like everything. It was like everything. It's like you could see why white parents were freaking out. Like we can't have this. Like hip hop, get these niggas out of here. That shit was wild. So I don't know. That's a really good question. I wish I had a better answer, but it depends on taste. You know what I mean? But I do think Kanye is probably a good like middle point. Like Kanye is very accessible. I don't know. Get Rich Dad Trying wouldn't be bad. Maybe I'll come up with like a list of like 10 essential albums. But how do you do 10? Maybe like 25. You know what I mean? And it will kind of chart the course of hip hop throughout history. You know what I'm saying? Like it would stretch from like the early stages of hip hop to like now. I think that would be a good thing. But I'm probably not going to do that, but it's a good idea to think about doing that. You know what I mean? So give me credit for that. I'll accept the praise for that later. Okay, quickly, book recommendation instead of a movie recommendation. I watched a lot of Snowfall and all the shit with the CIA and Snowfall, plus this clip I saw online of this old CIA operative talking about why we can't let communism, why we can't let capitalism die, and it's basically just like some selfish ass like, oh, the people would then not have to rely on us, and then they would have their own, it's like some evil shit. And it just like, it reminded me of this book I read by Tim Weiner or Weiner. I want to say Weiner because I don't want to disrespect. Like I know if your name is Weiner or Weiner, you've had to deal with people calling you Weiner your whole life. Maybe you're over it, but I just want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on the book. So Tim Weiner wrote this book called Legacy of Ashes. It's a history of the CIA from its inception to like the first George W. Bush administration. And it's just a fascinating look at like how fucked up the CIA was in terms of like the shit they did in foreign countries to overthrow governments, to destabilize countries. And a lot of the state of the world, how it is now, is because of the CIA. And like they would do crazy, like they would just train like a small military force in a country. They would drop them into another country. Those people would get slaughtered, and then they would be like, "Oh, that never happened. Yeah, we didn't do that. There's no history of that ever happening." It's fucking crazy. Like it's you kind of know the government is fucked up, but like when you get to the details of it, it's like this shit is fucked up. So check out Legacy of Ashes, one of my favorite books. I supposed to let my friend Skinny Mike borrow this book like a year ago, and I never sent it to him, but I'm gonna send it to him now. Check that book out. What else? I think that's about it. Like and subscribe and save and all that shit. Send the fucking questions in, and as always, Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.